In this video, I'm going to show you how to use Adobe Flash CS6, and this is for a beginner who's never used it or maybe used an earlier version. This is kind of the update. So I'm going to create a new ActionScript 3 file, and we could use a template, and they actually have very useful templates in there now, not so much in the older versions. Alright, so the layout looks probably similar to this than mine. You maybe actually have your tools here on the right side. I like them on the left side because it's like Photoshop or Illustrator, because that's what I also use. And you can change the size of it like this. This is how I'm going to have mine set up. You can set up anywhere you want. If you're just clicking the open area, first thing you'll notice on the right side is your properties for the document. And I'm going to change things here already. Right now it's on 24 frames per second. That's great. The size, it's actually a little taller than I want, so what I can do is, I can drop this down to like 300, and you can see it gets a little more narrow. Okay. And also the stage is white right now, and I can click on that and make it whatever color I want. So I'm going to go with black and just leave it like that. Or, for right now I'm going to leave it white. Maybe I'll change to black later. But that's where you change it. Okay, so the first thing is let's just draw a simple shape. So I'm going to grab a rectangle here, and you'll notice it has a stroke and a fill color, very similar to Illustrator or Photoshop if you use those. And if I don't want to stroke, I can just click it off there. But let's say I do. I'm going to keep this on. I'm going to draw something like this. Now, my fill is a little bit different than yours because I had something set up earlier. So maybe I should just undo that, Control Z to undo, and draw this. Now, you'll notice with this, if I click on it and move it, what it actually is the stroke in this program keeps it separate. So if you can apply, you can keep it with it if you'd like. If you don't, you can just select it and hit delete. And you notice right there how I highlighted it. And if you don't highlight the entire thing, if you just do part of it, right now if you look, it's a shape. When you just draw stuff, it's a shape. Okay, so it's not taking it as a whole piece. So I can delete that as well. Or for example, if I highlight it like this, it'll actually cut that piece out. But let's assume I want all of it, so I'm going to highlight all of it. Okay, right now it's a little big. I could use this free transform tool here on the left side, and I could size it down. Okay, so what I'm going to do is right now it's just a shape, so I'm going to show you a shape tween first. So I'm going to go down here in my timeline, and I'm going to go to 24 frames because that's what 1 second is. And I am going to hit F6 right now. And so right now in this movie that I created, alright, this animation, it lasts for 1 second long, and it's just a box that sits there. Since it's a shape tween, meaning it's going to tween, it's going to create the motion in between two different shapes, what I can do is I'm going to delete this, or let's say I just modify it. I'm going to use the eraser here on the left side, and it is a shape, so I can kind of just change it however I want. Let's say I kind of make it this shape right here. Okay, and right now what it is it exists for 23 frames, exactly the same box, and then boom, on this keyframe, when I hit F6, I create a keyframe. It turns into this. And what a keyframe is, it lets the computer know that this frame is different in some way. Okay, and what I'm going to do is if I want it to kind of morph into that naturally, I need the frames in between. So I'm going to right click in those frames. Okay, and I'm going to do shape tween, not motion tween, not classic tween, shape tween. And so if you watch this, if you scroll your mouse, it shows how it transformed into one, into the other. Or I can hold down Control Enter, and it creates a little animation over and over. Basically, it keeps just looping through these 24 frames. Okay. All right, I'm going to create another page, or another layer. Sorry, right here's a little new layer button. And in this case, I'm going to do another box. Okay. And well, I don't want to confuse it. Let's do a circle. All right, and I'm going to turn my stroke off by going up to this little box right here, and I'm going to grab a different color too. So I have this red circle here, orangish red, whatever, and I want this to actually be the new kind of tween. Now right now it is a circle and it is just a shape. If I click on that object only, not down in the timeline, but the object right here, it'll show it's a shape, and it has the stroke and weight and everything else right here, and I can change these from this menu here, and it's a solid and whatever else, and I can change the size and stuff. So maybe I want to change the height of it as well. Okay, what I want to do though is I'm going to right click on this bad boy here and do convert to symbol. All right. And right now the default one is graphic. It can be a movie clip or a button too. We're just going to do a graphic, and I can name this whatever I want. Circle. And the registration just means like where's the mid, not necessarily the midpoint, but the rotation point sometimes. Don't worry about it for now. Maybe in a different video I'll kind of mess with that a little bit. But there it is. And so see the registration point's here and the center is right here. But let's leave it there. And I'm going to go down to 48 frames. And I'm going to do F6 again because that creates a keyframe. So that's what this little frame is. When it has a dot in it, it's a keyframe. So let's do this instead. Actually, I'm going to go to 24 frames here. I'm going to do another keyframe, F6. So right now that dot exists here, there, and at the end as well. But in this one, I'm going to move it over here. Okay. So right now it's there, then back there. But what's going to happen is if I do create motion tween, what now it's going to do is nothing because I did the wrong kind of motion tween. This is actually the, if I want it to work that way, it would be the classic tween, and right here would be the classic tween. And if I move this, you can see it moves down to that point and then back up. Okay, and you can hit Control Enter to see what that looks like. You know, the classic tween's okay if you want, if you're used to doing that, but really I shouldn't use it. I should just get rid of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click right here. I'm going to highlight these frames, and I can't hit delete. That doesn't really work. The frames are still there. Instead, I'm going to right click and do remove frames, and it's gone. All right. So what I have here is right now you see these dots in here. That's because there's no keyframe in there anymore, but I left the tween in there. So I'm going to do remove tween. So it's just this guy right here. He does exist until the end, even though there's no keyframe, and that's okay. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do back to create motion tween, not the classic. We're not going to use that anymore. It's kind of the old way of doing things, but really the new one's so much better. So I'm going to do create motion tween, and I'm going to move it. Now you just notice right there that I had my cursor here at 16, and when I moved it, it created basically a keyframe for me, and I can move it around like this. And if I go to the last frame here and I move it again, see, it created these points. So this is actually first frame, second frame, all the way down. So this corner here represents this little dot right here, and it basically put all the middle frames in there for me, which is great. And I can't even click on this little frame right here. Click on it once and I click on it again, I believe, and to move it down. Oh, there it goes. No, don't even worry about it. I don't want to mess you up right now. But one thing I can do is, let's say I'm right here. I can click on it and move this around, or for example, I can click on this line here and maybe bow it around, or I could even, you know, bow this around a little bit too. So now it goes like this. All right. And I might be able to even remove this. No, don't worry about that. And it moves around like that. That's my point. Okay. If I grab this and move it, great. Or I can go to this last frame here. And what I want to show you though is this isn't the same as shape tweens. It is an object. So if I make changes to this one right here, and the way I make changes is I double click on it, and let's say I say, no, you know, really I want this one to be, you know, red instead. Right now I'm inside the circle. Okay, I gotta go back to the scene to go back to see what it's like. And you notice it's actually red throughout now. If I did that to the shape tween, and let's say I colored this one differently, okay, it'll actually change from one color to the next. But that's because it's a shape, and shapes can do that. They're just a blob, okay? But the graphics though, if you change it once, it's like a, I don't want to say saved image, but if I change one, it changes all of them, okay? But shapes aren't that way. So graphics and shapes are different. Shapes are something you draw, graphics is something you convert into. All right? So that's the basics. If you have this, you have a lot, okay? You can do so much more with this. And in probably the next video, what I'm going to show you is how you can do a lot more with this, or even look at cool tools, just to give you an idea. Here's the deco tool. And I'm going to just create a new layer. I'm going to turn these off so you don't even see them. But I'm going to grab this deco tool here, and they have things like, gosh, there's so many. Ooh, they have a flame brush too. First one I want to show you, those are like the smoke animation. This one's kind of cool. So right now it's going to end the animation, and I can choose the size and whatever else. But let's say I'm on this first frame here though, and I draw this in, for example, and I just let go. Okay, and what it's doing here is it's actually drawing these frames in right now as I let go. And so if I were to do Control Enter here, it lets you show those that smoke in there, which doesn't really make sense for maybe what we're doing. It'd probably make more sense to have that on the actual objects instead. So let's go back to that first frame maybe. We know this ball moves in this direction, so maybe I'd go to this first frame and actually use that smoke to draw with it and kind of like let it go. I know that the animation's much too long and I have to change some settings, but they got some pretty cool things like that. So now when I hit enter, it makes it look like that ball is actually creating the smoke or whatever else. Or they got things like, you drop this down, they also have things like flowers and flames and whatever else. This tree brush is pretty cool. You can actually choose the type of brush. So I need a cypress tree, and I can actually choose the colors that I want. All right, but I can just kind of draw it up like that. And you can make it, the animation, make it look like a tree's drawing or whatever. The faster you move, the stickier it is, or the slower I move, the more leafy it is, which is really cool. I really like this new feature. Makes other things so much easier. So good luck. Hope you learn a little bit of stuff. Just want to kind of preview to the stuff that's up and coming, and I can show you the next few videos. Good luck.